So being permissive doesn't really mean the kids are getting away with things. It means you keep letting them do things that you don't like. If we're talking about the 4 types of parenting, there's authoritarian, screaming and yelling, authoritative, which is you're emotionally meeting their needs and you're also having firm boundaries. Permissive, this is when you don't really have any boundaries, you kind of let the kids run the show. Neglectful is when you're just totally hands off and not meeting any of their needs. So this video I want to talk about permissive, and this is the reason why it matters. It's not like I'm over here like, get your kids in trouble. It's because when we are permissive, we are unhappy. I want us to talk about real legit reasons why moms are permissive, and we don't like these reasons, and we don't even like to feel permissive. Let's get into it. So the number 1 reason is you think making the kids upset is damaging them. So moms are permissive if they feel like holding the rule is gonna make the kids upset. So this happens if the kids come there woodpecking you, they're badgering you, they wanna do something, always on, say a screen or a video game or whatever the case may be. They're always doing something and inside you're like, I know this is not okay. This isn't the best, it's not okay. You know, you have the line, it is inside and you know it. But then you're afraid to have everything be within that line. You're afraid to pull it back and say, no, we're not doing that. Nope, that far and no further, because you know it'll make them upset. But even more than that, it's not that you really necessarily care if they're upset. You feel like them being upset is damaging them. You have a real fear that holding a healthy, good boundary is going to damage them or damage the relationship. So you think the relationship will be intact if I let them do whatever they want. But if you feel like the connection is just so tenuous that if they get upset it breaks, you're not going to hold any healthy boundaries. So they're not going to learn how to live within a healthy boundary system. The second reason, like legit reason moms find it so hard to keep boundaries and they're permissive is because the kids aren't being used to being told no or not now. And so they react super strongly, and this is triggering to you. For example, if you're like, okay, they're like, can I get on the tablet? You know, you say no, and they're just not used to being told no. They're just not really used to not getting what they want. And so they explode, or they melt down, or they whine, or they have a huge reaction. There's a huge power battle and it triggers you. You feel very triggered. You feel very like in danger. Your nervous system is like, alert, alert. You're like, I'm gonna avoid that. We're not going there. So I'm gonna figure out how I can be like slightly get them to do kind of maybe what I want, but giving them what they want. So just so I don't have to hold the line. We go through a lot of tricks to not hold healthy lines that we know we need to hold, and we don't feel good when we hold them. If we want to learn more about boundaries, I wrote an entire book, If Mama Ain't Happy, Why Minding Healthy Boundaries is Good for the Whole Family. I'll link it below, and of course you can get it on anywhere that you can find books. But I go into a lot about how to even recognize this and pull back out of all this ickiness. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. So the number 3 reason that piggybacks off the number 2 reason is that you just don't have the energy. You're in survival mode and you just ain't got the energy to fight. So if your kids aren't used to being told no, they're gonna react strongly and you just ain't got the energy to deal with it. You're like, you know what? Make that choice. You'll pay for it later. And you know, sometimes I feel like them's the breaks and actually this might be okay. Sometimes hands-off parenting is a little bit better than over hands-on parenting. But the truth is sometimes there's boundaries, there's lines, you know they're there, you know the kids need to stay within them, you know you need to stay within them, but you're worn out, you're tired, life's falling around, you got a crisis. Let me tell you, I know about some crises, okay? Ask me how I know all this. Whatever the reason, you're just like, I cannot handle this right now. And I want to give a quick side tip. If this is what's going on and you're in this space, then I want you to think about what are the things that cause the most power battles, and I want you to go down deep and see if you can just squash the whole thing out. So for example, if you're in survival mode and you don't have the energy and you're always having battles around screens, take the screens away. Take them completely away. And this will initially cause a hurdle of fighting, and then there will be nothing to fight about because they won't have any. So that's an example as it relates to screens. If it's something else, get to the root of it. See if you can carve the whole thing out or change the whole thing to alleviate the power battles. The number 4 reason moms are permissive and feel that icky feeling when they become permissive is they're trying to enforce rules they don't care about. It's like, well, you know, I don't actually care about this, so the kids should do this. People have this rule, and it's just a rule a good mom would have. I need to have this rule. This is a huge one. I have a whole chapter of this in my book, If Mama Ain't Happy, about our rules. If you don't care, it should not be a rule. It should just go away. This is out of your psyche now. You don't care. Because the truth is, if you don't care, you will not enforce it. You won't. You simply will not do it. If you try to tell them a rule and you hope they're gonna run with it, they're not gonna run with it unless you enforce it. If you're not gonna enforce it, then you've basically just thrown something up. It'd be like the boss being like, everybody send a report by Friday. And then nobody ever does it. And it's like, oh, the boss, you know, he's like, send the report, but he don't care. No, don't do this. Just don't even have the rule. And if you have some rules you haven't enforced, you can say, this is no longer a rule, kids. And this will help you. Let me tell you why. This is for you. If you have a rule that you've made, it sticks there. Even if you don't care, it sticks there in your brain. And then whenever you don't do it, the rule's like, and it bothers your psyche. It bothers you because you know you didn't keep it. You want to get rid of as many of these icky internal things you got going on, because when parenting is heavy inside, it's heavy outside. And when it's light and airy inside, it feels more light and airy to everyone. Number 5 reason that moms legit feel permissive and have those icky feelings is because you're parenting to your kids' emotions, not to your own convictions. I've talked about this a lot in some other videos that I'll link down in the description. Emotions just flow and they come and they're like clouds. And one day something makes you happy and the next day you're like, that stupid thing. And kids are the same. If the onus and the sort of compass of your parenting is your kids' emotions, you're screwed. That's just how it is. Because children do not have regulated emotions, and we don't even have completely predictable emotions. If we made all our decisions based on our emotions, we would have a super hard life, okay? It's like, I don't want to go to work. I feel like, it's a duvet day. No, we don't do that. We just do what we gotta do because we gotta do it, right? And then the things that we need to rejuvenate, replenish, we've built those in so that we can do them, right? We don't just wake up and follow where our emotions lead. You can. Let me know how that works out in the comments. But you shouldn't be doing this with your kids. You should, out of your own convictions and out of your own mature brain that knows what's good for little ones, that wants to create an environment of peace and support and love and healthy emotions and everything else, you need to parent out of your convictions. If you have a conviction, a boundary, hold the line. And then if the kids get mad, it's okay. If they don't like it, that's okay. They don't have to like it. That's another issue. Our kids don't have to like something they don't like. They just still gotta do it if it's good. Do you see what I'm saying here? We're not forcing kids to like or not like things. You could say, you know, I see why you would want to bite your sibling. Yeah, you were mad. Yeah, but we're not gonna bite because that's violent and aggressive and destructive. Duh, we're gonna hold this line. They need to know the lines. So I just want to encourage you, if you feel like you're permissive and you're having these like icky feelings where you're like, they're getting away with things, one tendency, oh, bonus, big fat bonus. One thing that moms do when they start to feel a lot of this ickiness, they hate that guilty feeling. So instead of then just deciding to hold the line of their convictions, you know what they do? They say, actually, I'm just gonna throw off the burden. I'm gonna let my kids do what they want. Does that make sense? They give themselves permission to feel it's okay that they have no boundaries. But this is a short-term strategy and it doesn't work because they're still there. Don't do that. Instead, just realize you have these convictions. You have these instincts. You have this intuition about what should happen and what shouldn't happen. Mama, just hold the line. It becomes so much less icky, so much less stressful, so much less this like guilty, heavy feeling when you just decide you're not gonna float around to the whims of everybody's emotions. You're not gonna try to force your kids to like it. You're going to, as a loving, healthy mom who wants the best for her kids and is doing her best, you're gonna hold the line of the things that are good that need to happen. Be sure to check out my next video on why parenting this century is doing all our heads in.